I've spent a good 5 to 10 minutes trying to think up of an intro for this, but I can't. Let's just get into building. Today's set is number 9443, otherwise known as Rattlecopter, consisting of 327 pieces. Of those are the 3 minifigures: Kai in his ZX form, Fang Shui, and Lloyd Garmadon. Originally being sold in 2011, this set was priced at $29.99. And there we have it. That is all of Rattlecopter, disassembled. I should mention that this was supposed to be technically in 3 bags to make it a little bit easier for me, but I didn't look in the instructions, and I also forgot to set the instructions out to have some time to unfold. So yeah, I struggled a bit trying to undo it. Not because the set was hard to take apart, it was more so just because the instructions were so bent into a certain shape that they would just not give up at all. But now I can just introduce some characters to you. So we already know Kai, and this is his ZX form. However, he's a bit different, considering the fact that he's got a junk jetpack. In the show, it kind of makes sense, but also in this set, it doesn't, because right around the time when they come across the Fangpire breed of serpentine species, I forget if there are species at that point. The Fangpires, they need to go to a junkyard to service some electricians. No, not that. What's the engineers? Yeah, some engineers, in which they've got a whole bunch of machinery that they've built themselves, including what will become the Rattlecopter. The jetpack, probably just something made out of junk, but it's never seen in the show, so I don't know why exactly that was made. The knives aren't ever used. And I guess Fang Shui, play on the joke of feng shui, of how it's spelled. His design, he's got a necklace of, I think, his own teeth on him. And I think he's like the first, I want to say, brute that we've seen. An actual, like, serpent head, and not just a Lego head with fangs, like we got with Rattla and Snappa, I think they were. But yeah, Fang Shui is a Fangpire. And what they do, and I just remembered that the scouts actually can do it too. With their teeth, they can bite into... No. I was about to say any item, but I know that it works on people too. They bite anything, and it becomes a serpentine. It doesn't become another Fangpire, I don't think. Oh, well, duh. This shows it right here, the Rattlecopter. But yeah, their bite is very infectious, I guess. And then the introduction of Lloyd Garmadon. Lloyd is the son of Lord Garmadon. His shirt is trying to match that of his father's chest. He tries to wear a cowl and a cape. He's got a bunch of dust on his back on this cape, just because it's the actual cape is like a fabric. I don't know how he's wielding a lightning sword, I guess. But the other thing that should be mentioned is that, well, before I go into that, I should mention, for some odd reason, this set, like, has a big old tagline that says Fang Shui included. I don't know if you can see that in the instructions over here. Like, okay. I mean, I would hope that a character in the storyline would come with a set, but okay. Now back to Lloyd. For some odd reason, Lloyd is holding the Constricti. I believe that's what they're called. The Constricti staff. Serpentine staff. As you can see, it's a bunch of chain links, and I don't know why, for the life of me, he has that, and why he's being followed by a Fangpire. Why? I can understand why Kai is following him after the staff, but really? I don't know. Okay. With that, I think I can start building. Yeah, so let me just move this off to the side and then get into the loaded topic that is next. Oh yeah, and I guess the instructions say to pull these out. These are literally the last 2 pieces of the set, and yet they're in the first bag. I don't understand why, but you can do this with them. Don't ask me. I'm weird, okay? So, to start everything off, I want to say this episode is, I don't know how far, or I mean how long I could talk about this topic, nor am I really too educated on the subject, but when was this recorded? This was recorded around the time that hashtag cancel Netflix is running rampant, and it's not without due reason, but it's also for an odd reason. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, hashtag cancel Netflix, obviously kind of self-explanatory. Netflix should be canceled. It's a little bit deeper than that. One of Netflix's newest movies that they just released to the public as of September 9th, new to me, not new to you. Of course, this is going to come out 4 months from now, so it's probably January. Probably. This is probably going to be in 2021, when some new law is already passed about it, whether it be in favor or against the topic. So, a film that Netflix paid the rights for is known as Mignon. I'm sorry, it's a French title. So Mignones. However you pronounce that, I have not gotten that well versed in French. I'm still trying to learn it. Along with, if you've ever heard me mention it before, Japanese, Chinese, and refamiliarizing myself with Spanish. Chinese and Japanese go hand in hand. I kind of learn ways to learn both of them in their progression, as well as French in comparison to already knowing Spanish. There's a lot of rules that the French language follows, but they also have their own rules that you have to follow when addressing certain words and everything. But the word itself, I don't know how well Google Translate works, because I had yet to learn what the actual word meant. Obviously, I haven't gotten that far in learning French. I'm just running in circles. I'm sorry. The word is supposed to, in quotation marks, mean cute, and that's exactly where the Netflix issue comes into play. So, Netflix bought the rights to this French film, except the streaming rights in France. That I looked up and looked into the logistics of this before I talked about it in full. It's a French film. They have the rights to it worldwide, except in France, the home country, in which the film was set to go into theaters. However, because of COVID-19, the theatrical release, was held off, postponed, something, to the extent that the director of the film was more so worried about that than what the rest of the world would think of her film. So the film Mignon, I'm sorry, is a film that is under a large, with due reason, controversy. Now, am I one to think controversies are always a good thing and they bring bad things to light? Yes and no. Controversy can show the misdeeds that someone has been doing, but it also can bring out a bigger issue that has been in the running that can lead to unnecessary changes, but in the long run, it will help in general. This film was after the rights had been sold and the director had no idea of this happening. The Netflix marketing team took it upon themselves to change the theatrical poster and the description of the film. Obviously, they had no say in what was in this film, but they did change the they did release the poster on, I believe, just the Netflix page. I don't think it was ever on Netflix's Twitter until it was brought up about what this is. So, go back maybe a week before the 9th. The poster was released on Netflix's home, and it's very odd. It's in very poor taste. I don't know how the poster was made. I don't know how the poster was released if it wasn't supposed to be the poster that was used. So, avoiding as much detail as I can, but I need to talk about the topic at hand. It's, the poster consists of, I believe, 4, someone said 14, but I think they're supposed to be playing 11-year-old girls. And they're all wearing, short shorts and I think crop tops. So, revealing clothing for children. Extremely revealing clothing for children. And the description that Netflix put out made it even worse. So people have no problem watching Dance Moms, in which arguably some of the costumes are almost the same, or cheerleading, or some of the others. However, these are very young kids versus teenagers about to go into the flow of actual life once they cross the threshold of 18 and are considered adults. The description was the young girl, they say the character's name in the description, is trying to break from her Islamic traditions. I feel as if, like, I've read that. I'm really sorry. Like, I've tried to make sense of it in my head, and as much as anybody else has tried to make sense of how this has come about. It's so odd. This girl is trying to break from her Islamic traditions when in her new apartment complex, she stumbles upon a girl twerking. An underage girl twerking. And I guess the movie's supposed to be about how the girl is coming of age or some shit. Like, it could have been anything, really. Like, just a dance team in general, but twerking, it was already suspicious at that point. Like, why twerking? Like, is there even a twerking dance team known to man? It's very, very, very odd, to say the least. Also, I should mention, these pieces in the set have a bunch of stickers that I cannot take off. So, if that gets on anybody's nerves, fuck the fuck up. I can't do anything about it. I don't want to ruin the stickers. So, yeah, that description, to say the least, is very odd. But, like I said, the Netflix marketing team had changed it. I don't know what the description has changed to, but the, I'll say cover art, or the poster art, I'm not sure what the actual term for it is. I still have yet to know what that actually is, what they physically changed. So what they ended up changing was these girls that are supposed to be underage in very revealing tight clothing are all doing like show-stopping poses, and not only just show-stopping poses, but like stuff that exact poses that you would see from the movie that Jennifer Lopez and Constance Wu were in about strippers. Like, legitimate, I swear to God, one of the poses is the exact same from that poster to this, to the altered poster. And then what the poster was originally supposed to be was all four girls skipping down the like a French alleyway, I think, because it looks like the hill that they're on goes over the horizon, and their shoes are covered up, I think. They've got shopping bags and everything. Like, you have no idea what the hell this film is about just by looking at it. It looks like it'd be amazing for American Girl or something. Like, it looks like one of those films. Like, one of those films dedicated to, like, a specific character. And I can definitely see that used as a tactic for what this film is projected to be about. So, as weird as I've mentioned it as it is, this film is supposed to, and I don't know if that's actually true with the way that they've done this, from the director who has experienced sexual exploitation. I forget what. I'm so sorry. I'm still learning about this, and I've forgotten some of the facts over the time from me looking up some of it. The director has undergone or experienced some sexual exploitation, I think, herself. And I believe it was mentioned that it was supposed to be in like beauty pageants, I think. And it's something that even South Park has made jokes about. It is known to happen in that field. So if the director ever wanted it to run that way, this was most certainly not the correct way. So the film is obviously, as I've said, about this girl who joins a twerking dance team. To say the least, I have not watched it, but you can get genuine input from what happens in the movie from the channel Penguins with a Z and then a 0. He's also known as Moist Critical or Charlie or just Critical. I knew about like the controversy before he mentioned it, and then he shed a little bit more information on it, and then as of yesterday, as of me recording this, he released a video saying he did watch it, and he was disgusted. I don't know what goes on, but he goes on to say that some, if not all, of it is extremely fucking sus. The two instances are during the actual like routines. He says that the camera zooms in on the genital area of one of these girls. I don't know how true that is. I don't know how graphic that is. I don't know anything. I have not looked. I have not seen. I have not touched that film. Not only was it that scene, but there's another scene in which, and I don't know why this happens, like, I have no context whatsoever to this film. Like, he provides these two examples. He provided that example, as well as the girls decide to give one of the girls an exorcism for whatever reason, and she's only in her underwear and a white undershirt, in which they start sprinkling holy water on her, and she's only wearing the white shirt, I think is what he said. I don't know how true that statement is. I don't want to touch it. I do not want to touch this film with a 10-foot pole. But I feel as if there's something going on. Either this was made in really poor taste, or it's supposed to be a document in Netflix history as well as movie-going history, because I think the theatrical release is only in France. It's supposed to play on predatory nature, using collected data from users. Maybe it sends a police report. That people are making a bunch of stupid as hell, not controversies, it's not folk tales, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word right now, but it's something that doesn't exist that people believe, basically. Not superstition, it's in that realm, and I'm sorry I can't think of the word right now. But these people are making up these ideas that maybe it's supposed to track down child predators, but if it was, why was it a theatrical release first in a country? And if it isn't, how the hell was this movie made? And if this movie was made, how did parents let their children go through with this? Do these kids even know what is going on? Do they feel any sort of embarrassment at all? Like, it's a lot up in the air, and like nothing has really come about, and it's so fucking messed up. And even I'm like trying to make sense of it in my head, and I'm going all over the place in what I should talk about. I can't wrap my head around it. The movie itself has to not only be thought up, but it also has to be put before a team of marketers as well as a production team to go through a list to say, yep, that's okay. Maybe we don't do that. There's a bunch of that, and yet this was still okay to make somehow. And at what point does all of this start to raise red flags? Is it just French culture where they're okay with this stuff? I really don't know much of French culture myself at all. I literally know of a week's worth of French culture. I went to one week of a French course, did not like the teacher, and left. And now I'm studying French by myself, which I'm actually genuinely enjoying at the pace that I want to work at. But it's so odd. Going back to the director, as I've said, she's experienced some of this herself. As she's dealing with all this theatrical release stuff, she starts to get notifications on her phone from the day that the poster goes out on Netflix worldwide, and she is, I guess, blindsided. I don't know how true that is. Blindsided by a bunch of comments, and it's all negative, to the point where she has said that she's gotten multiple death threats. And knowing the internet, I was expecting that. I was expecting much worse, actually. I was expecting us to find out that she and maybe her husband, I think she's got a husband, are already dead. It's such a fucking huge mess. What I'm most concerned for is, I'm gonna save that for a deeper into the subject. So the woman is obviously in deep shit, but what I should mention is that this, I think it's called the Sundance Festival or Sundance Movie Company, something, gave it an award. This film not only won this award, but was nominated for 3 other awards. I cannot remember for what other awards, but I do explicitly remember the Sundance one. I don't know what these people saw in it. Now, I don't know how far the rest of the movie goes, because the only knowledge that I have of it is from Moist Critical mentioning what he watched and was sickened by. And he only watched up until it was, I think he said 30 minutes into the film. And at that point, he couldn't stand to watch it anymore. For lack of a better word, disgusted by what he saw, turned it off, and didn't want to touch it anymore. Now, does the rest of the film have, anything to do with child predation? Is that the word I'm looking for? Predation? Child predation? In which they, uproot it, and it's just these girls doing it all by themselves or something? I don't know. I have no idea. The film is supposed to bring to light all of this child predatory stuff that goes on behind closed doors, and yet, as the film is doing all of this, it's literally making itself into a child predatory piece by making these underage girls tools for pornography. And ipso facto, a porn shot of a child is none other than just child pornography. I'm sorry. I'm fucking stupid, okay? It's odd to say the least. Now, I knew of it. I had no reason to talk about it, but at least it gave me a topic today. I knew of it. I didn't really ever talk about it with my family. Normally, whenever something big happens, in the world, such as the BLM movement, or even the election that's going to be coming up soon in U.S. history, whatever it will be, people talk, and that's exactly what happens. But I did not talk about this subject with my family. I just thought it wasn't really worth my time because I wasn't educated on the film. Hence the reason my thought process is, if it was even made, there's got to be something there, because like I said, it has to be thought up by a person. It has to be okayed. It has to go through a film crew. It has to go through selection for actresses. And then it has to be produced. It has to actually be filmed. It has to be edited. Then it has to go through a marketing team. in which there were 2 posters made, but the photos for the second poster that were the more suspicious one was already prepared. So the photos were already taken of these girls. So where does it lie? And did Netflix do this on purpose? They said that they have apologized for changing the description as well as changing the initial poster. They said it was in poor taste for what the film is dedicated for, but obviously people weren't having it and were still upset anyway. Hence the reason why people were coming about with the hashtag cancel Netflix. And there's gotta be something, right? Like, it doesn't make fucking sense at all. And speaking of hashtag cancel Netflix, whether you are criticizing the movie or defending it, both sides have people on it. And get this, both sides have people who are saying child predation or child pornography is bad. People aren't defending the film for child pornography. People are defending the film because it's a film. I don't know what it consists of, and all I can think of is these girls that have been used or whatever. This is an acting job. This is literally what they were paid to do. And as fucked as it is in the situation, I want to know what they think. I don't speak French, so I wouldn't be able to ever know, like, if they made a YouTube video. There probably is. Knowing nowadays they've already released something to the public on their own Twitters or something, saying something about how we had no idea that this was going on, or this was our first time film, we had a bunch of fun, or something like that. I don't know. Listen, I'm trying to make sense of it as I'm going along, and I'm sorry I'm, like, building away from you in a sense. Like, technically it's supposed to be built like this, but with my mind trying to work at the same time, I don't want to build a mirror image at the same time, so I'm just going to try and build exactly with this so I can not make as many mistakes. It's a big fucking mess is all it is. One other thing, going back to the child actresses. At what point does a mother or a father, like, suspect anything or not suspect anything? Like, if people are watching these girls that they don't even know do this stuff and are disgusted, in what way do these people not think to themselves, hey, my daughter's doing some stuff that I wouldn't even want to see a stripper do? Am I wrong in saying that? Like, there are certain things that even a stripper you don't want to see. I'm not saying, like, oh yeah, they're not pretty enough to do certain things. No, what I'm saying is I don't want to see a woman who is trying to make an earnest living, trying to live day by day so she can eat, or even allow her children to eat. Heaven forbid she has children at that time. I don't want to see her lower herself to such horrific anything. At what point do you just, like, stop yourself and say, maybe this isn't right? And at what point can you, as an adult, to a major, probably a major film crew, like, say it was a Hollywood film that was somehow making this movie, at what point can you just say, you know what, I'm putting my foot down and I am taking my kid out of this. This is making me hella sus. I don't like what's going on here. I don't know what you're doing to my child. At what point can you just say that? Like, it's, I genuinely think that if you were to do that, there's a certain point in which there's been so much money spent that you could legitimately get killed the next day. I have no doubt in saying that. So, with all of that information, I now bring it back to me, and not mentioning it to my family. I just didn't think I needed to talk about it, but apparently I did. Sure, it's a horrendous anything. I don't know if I should consider it a film. I don't know if I should consider it child porn. It's somewhere in the middle. It's exactly like the line between, if you know anything in the anime verse, what happened with Ishozoku reviewers or interspecies reviewers, in which that crossed the threshold of what is legally anime and what is legally hentai or animated porn. That crossed the threshold that people weren't ready for. Apparently, the original source, or the manga the show is adapted from, has no explicit scenes at all, and yet the animation crew decided to put in a full sex scene. I don't know to what extent. I don't know if there was any blurring of genitals. I don't know. I didn't watch that either. Just wasn't interested in it. The line has been blurred, not only in anime, but also in cinema. Like I was saying, I didn't talk about this, and all of a sudden, one day, randomly, I could hear my mother talking on the phone, looking to talk to Netflix customer service. I just thought that maybe she was going to ask, like, why her bill went up or something. I don't look at the fees for it. I probably should, because once I'm out of here, I'll have to pay for it myself if I want any services. The only thing that I'm really watching right now, I get on Amazon Prime Video, and it's an older show. I'm actually really enjoying this old show called River Monsters. I don't know how to fish per se, but I really like the way that this guy tells his stories in actual, like, scientific revelations and everything, showing how, like, fish have evolved and the conditions that they live in, and why certain fish species are feared or are mistreated or anything. Like, that's what I'm watching right now. I haven't been watching anything on Netflix except for one show that I started watching with a friend while he was over here, and that was One Punch Man. It's an anime, and it just happened to be something that we wanted to watch that one day. It's on Netflix. That was the one show that was in my catalog for watching, or needed to watch, or whatever. So going back to my mother, I could hear her talking to Netflix customer service. Didn't know what was going on. I just went back to doing whatever I was doing, probably watching a YouTube video at the time or something. And then a few hours later, she calls me over and asks me if I had heard anything about cuties. Oh yeah, I don't think I've ever actually said that. That's what the title was changed to, cuties. So the French title, I think, is just cute. The American, the English release was cuties, which, I don't know. Both are really kind of sus, I think. Oh yeah, I should mention, this set has a warning for these. Don't shoot them in eyes, because blinding, I guess. I don't know how you make a projectile like that go fast enough where it could do permanent damage to someone's eye. Might make it irritated. Oh, this will be a good thing. Like, I once got a VWAD straight in the eye, an open eye, and actually no, not even a VWAD. I got a pen cap. No, a highlighter cap to my eye, and I was fine. I was also scolded off by the nurse for shooting the VWADs. Luckily, I had a friend with me that said, "Are you fucking kidding me? He wasn't doing this. He was the only person not doing it." I'll admit, I was doing it, but he was the only person not doing it, and he's the only person who got hurt. Are you kidding me? I'm glad that I had that person by my side at the time. Going back to the subject at hand, my mother mentioned Cuties, and I said, yeah, it's a huge major fuck up on Netflix's part. I don't know what the film is about. And then she says, oh yeah, I canceled our subscription because of it. To which I said, you're such a fucking idiot. Now, I'm an adult, but I'm still living under her house. So, I fucked up. I'll admit that. What I should have said is that was such a stupid decision. Now, am I defending the film? In no way am I defending the film, because I have not touched it. I don't know what it's about. But what I am defending is the rest of Netflix. The rest of Netflix is perfectly fine. This is one bad film that was made by a different company. Netflix just had the rights to it. That's all they did. It's no different from them buying Neon Genesis Evangelion. The only streaming site and the only thing in the world that has ever had access to it was Netflix. And now they also have Netflix or accountability for Cuties, so I don't know what the fuck to do. I mentioned how it's a big fuck up on Netflix's part, but it's not Netflix's fault. It's more so the movie's fault. But as I was saying, I don't know what goes on in this film. I had done more research about it at the time, and from the time of a few days ago, from when this had happened, I've done more research into it. As well as, Moist Critical saying his point about peace. I've done more research into it. I'm still just as disturbed that anything would be made like it has been, but there's got to be a reason. There's got to be a reason it was made, how it was made, and how it's won an award. For people to sit through it and not think that, ooh, this is repulsive, and actually think that it's like worthy of praise. There's got to be something that we just don't know. It's so, I don't know. Before anything else, obviously this is supposed to be like a helicopter turbine engine. I don't know. I actually don't know how helicopters works. I know that the rotor forces air down to lift it up, but I have no idea what these are. Propulsion? Oh well. The little thing that goes in the front of the jet that makes it look like this, if I've got it held correct for the camera, sorry, is actually a knight's helmet for other Lego sets. Just thought it was unique. That all happened. I called my mother stupid. That didn't go over well. But at the end of the day, I felt defeated. I wasn't ever going to get it back. I didn't really want to pay for it. I had no reason to. But, what I was really upset is that she never talked about it with me or my sister, who I know enjoys a bunch of shit on Netflix. And the whole reason why she even did it in the first place is because she had talked to her like 2 weeks ago. So quite a bit of time to pass. She had said that when she talked to her last, that she wasn't watching on anything on Netflix and was watching stuff on Disney Plus and Hulu. But because I knew that she had watched some stuff and was watching some stuff on there, I immediately let her know, saying, "Oh my God, my mother is a Karen." And quite literally, if you're watching this and you've watched it this far, Mom, you are indeed a Karen. I've tried to deny it for as long as I have, just watching it by. But there are so many things that you do just that exude Karen-ness. And if I can see it, it's kind of telling. Ignoring all of that, I go through the message of saying, hey, Mom's canceled Netflix because of the movie. I tell her what happened. I tell her the description. I tell her all this information. I tell her everything that I had learned up to the point. I told her that Netflix fucked up. I don't know anything about what the actual film is like. And then after telling her one thing that I can't remember that I think might have like swayed her the most, she called my mom and demanded that she get it back because at the time she had just started watching stuff with her roommate in college and demanded that she get it back. Because my sister was actually the person who asked my mom to get Netflix at all. Technically, my mom's had Amazon Prime for a while and Amazon Prime Video, but no one really was watching anything. But with Netflix, my sister wanted to watch something. I don't remember what it was that really drove her to watch or ask for Netflix. And lo and behold, she gets my mother to reinstate our account within the hour of her asking. Meanwhile, with me, who she had a spat with, but in my defense, in her defense, I was being a prick, and that wasn't ever going to help my case. But my sister was able to get it back by demanding it. So I don't know how mine was different, actually. She demanded to get it back. I just called her a name and then just accepted it. But my sister, I don't know. I don't know. After a while, I get a message from my sister saying I demanded that she get it back, and I'm at a loss for words. And now I have Netflix back, and I have not touched it. So my sister's the one watching it. I haven't touched it. I haven't even touched River Monsters, which is on Amazon Prime Video, as I've mentioned. Also, Hulu has access to 2 seasons, like season 6 and season 7. But I think there's 12 seasons of the show, so I don't know why you would watch those. But yeah, that is Cuties and the controversy that it is. It's so odd. Like, I don't know where all of this came from. I'm still in disbelief that anything could come this far if there wasn't some redeeming quality. There's also people speculating that maybe that this, because, and I should have mentioned this before, this might be the start of of people in major positions trying to make pedophilia okay. Let's get this out in the open. That shit will never be okay. Sexual feelings for a child is not okay. I understand you are a human, but you yourself need to understand what you are doing is against morals and laws, and you are abusing a child's trust to accomplish your needs. It is not a sexual need. It is a sexual want that has a reason for it. Your brain has a malfunction. There is enough study to prove that you are not right in the head. But with enough counseling, you can become a better part of society. However, if you act on these desires, you are no better than someone who rapes. You are no better than someone who kills. As a matter of fact, if you are arrested, apprehended, and sent to jail, there is a good chance, a massive chance, actually, that you will not make it the next morning. The people in jail for minor offenses still have some moral code in which they do not allow child predators or rapists to live. There have been multiple counts of murder in jail of what's the word I'm looking for? Someone who has been tried and found guilty, or just guilty. People who have been guilty of rape and child predation. There have been multiple counts of murder for that in jail. So unless you want to find yourself dead in a cell, I highly recommend that you seek help. I have no problem in someone admitting that there is something wrong and getting help. But the moment that there is something wrong and you don't do something to fix it, you are more of the issue than what is at hand. Going back to where this thought started, people in power trying to make child predation okay. There is somehow, and I don't know how these accounts don't get shut down or canceled on Twitter, people literally, and I've seen it, saying, I don't even know if child predation is the right term to use. Child predation is perfectly fine. And that is fucking sickening to read. Now, I've known about, I think the group is called NAMBLA, the National Association, Man Boy Love Association is the MBLA part. I don't know the NA. North American Man Boy Love Association, I think. That's so fucked up. How does a group like that have any way of actually staying afloat and like not being found out and like having a meeting stormed? I know that they've made jokes about it on South Park, and they've had like the police force and like some other NAMBLA group or something come out of the woodwork and try and disrupt their meetings. But like, what the fuck? Or with the whole success that is now legalizing gay marriage and transgender rights and transitioning and bottom surgery and everything, and pansexuality and everything else under the sun that is the spectrum of gender. I don't know if I'm supposed to say gender or sex there. Again, still learning. There have been multiple flags, as I know. The pride flag or the LGBTQ flag is a rainbow, as many people should know, I think. But amongst all the other subsequent, I think that's the right word to use there, like the groups that are under another group, subsequent flags are such as the transgender flag, which is, I think, all pastel colors. Like, I think it's like pink, yellow, and blue pastel colors. I'm sorry, again, still learning. I don't know everything. But for whatever reason, there's some flag, and I don't know how, for ageism. I don't, well, it's literally just pedophilia, like a flag for pedophilia, and the LGBT community is very, 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 and rightfully and correctly against even allowing that, as well as ashamed that once they've gotten this clearance, that these people tied themselves to this horrifically unheard community and mistreated community, and now can face backlash for allowing this predation to occur in their group when in fact they don't want it at all. Like, it's just a fucked mentality. There is indeed something wrong with child predation. There is no way to undermine that fact. It is not an opinion. It is a fact that child predation is wrong. Can you fix that? I don't know. People are born the way that they are born, and this is, again, like I've said from the very beginning, I am not fully educated in what I talk about. I am taking everything at face value, at what I read, from what I understand, learning new information day by day. and should you. That is why you don't make a decision after learning such little development. You wait until weeks have passed and there is no new information out. Then you can make a decision, and then you judge on that. If no information can be found after a certain point, you are allowed to make a decision. In the case with my mother, she had learned what she had heard, and she thought she said over a course of like 4 days, but to be honest, it took 1 day for me to learn of this existence, of this fuck up, of its existence, of its fuck up, of its apology, of the director. Like, it was all 1 day right after another. So if she learned about it and then 4 days later decided to do it without hearing anything else, that's where I had the issue. And it's really sad to say. It's sad to see, it's sad to say, but now that I'm in like the finishing process, I can finally talk about what I feel is the right decision. Right now, what we are seeing is a terrible, horrific way to portray what this woman wanted to. She can say it, but we don't know if her morals are actually true or whether or not she can be trusted. We don't know this woman. I don't know any other films that she's directed. I should look more into that to see what other materials she has ever produced, made, directed. Sorry, my mind is still frazzled. I don't think it comes to the point of her. I think what we have to do is leave it up. And leave it as a benchmark of saying, this is where we were at this time. This is something that was actually made by a human being. Now, was it right? Was it wrong? Who knows? The only people that have any say as to whether or not this film can stay in existence, or, well, now that it's a digital copy, people can keep it downloaded and keep it going worldwide. The only people who have any say as to whether or not it should stay in existence are the girls that were filmed. They were okay with the filming. I don't even know if that is correct in saying. Maybe they were uncomfortable and just went along with it because it was their first acting role. Maybe they're okay with it now. However, we are going to have to wait and see what they say years from now. Right now, they are still underage. They can make decisions for themselves. And they can see it in a whole nother light a few years from now. And then after a few years, after those few years, they could see it in a whole different light. But only those girls, and I think it's for, well, I don't know, because, like, if it's more like a dance competition, there's got to be other girls that were filmed as well. There's got to be. They are the only ones to say whether or not that they accept it. No one, not even the director who thought that she was trying to help a situation, has any right to say what is right and what is wrong about the portrayal of these girls' bodies. They have the final say as to what goes on. I don't know what to think. It's up in the air right now. And like I just said in that last little bit, the only people who have any right in saying anything are the girls. Once they've had enough life experience, once they've been taught, once they've seen what actual predation can be, and understand that, you know what? Maybe that's something that I went through. Something like that. Or they accept it as a film and don't think anything of it. Or there could be a mixed group in which some of them see it as a film, some of them see it as child predation. I'm not going to dismiss anything that any of them say. If some of them enjoy it, some of them enjoy it. Some of them hate it with a burning passion. They hate it with a burning passion. They are the only ones who have had their bodies on the line for this film. They're the only ones who get a say in the matter. It is not the director. It is not a producer. It is not the mother from Wisconsin saying that she wants the film removed. It is simply and only going to be those children's say in the matter. Are going to be the only opinions that actually matter. Oh, I thought that last topic would have taken me to the very end. Damn. Yeah. So, it's at this point that I guess I can open it up to the comments. As much as I don't want to, because it could just generate a cesspool of insanity and fucking absurdity. I guess I can't really stop anyone from commenting. Is it right? Is it wrong? Where do you see it lie? To what extent do you see that the lines have been crossed? Do you feel bad for the people involved? Do you feel bad for the kids involved? People that were like brought on as extras or like lighting a crew or anything like that. I feel as if like someone had to have just like stopped and thought about, wait a minute, this, I don't know, but it's also French culture, and I don't know what the culture over there is like. I don't know how it's different. I know that some European countries have like television shows where like you can see full nudity and it's perfectly fine. And I think like the legal age of consent is much lower in some countries. Like, I don't know. I don't even know what the age of consent is in France, actually, now that I think about it. Nor do I want to look it up, because probably looking that up puts me on a fucking watch list, as does watching this film at times. If anybody is actually correct in thinking that maybe that's what it's actually designed for, is to be a lookout for actual child predators. And if it actually is, Netflix did an amazing job, because they tried to stay neutral as much as they could. They won't take it down. It's a tactic. Like, they are getting so much fucking hate for this. And if it actually is to like stop child predation somehow, they better make an assload of money afterward for doing it. But in the case that it's actually not meant to do that, they have just in turn kind of cursed themselves. Now, is it really their fault? They just purchased the rights to this movie. They purchased the rights to an award-winning movie. They purchased the rights to a fully produced, directed, and nominated award-winning movie. In their eyes, if they see an award attached to it, I don't think it was any different than, I think Amazon has the rights to it, than purchasing the rights to, Parasite, that movie, that I just wasn't really a fan of. Still don't truly understand the whole hype about it. Like, it's still just like a movie to me. I didn't think it was like end all be all, like show stopping film of the year sort of material. But like, if you see that it's won an award, I wouldn't second guess at all for a moment that there would be something wrong with a film at all. But yeah, if you see the tag award-winning, you wouldn't second guess at all, oh yeah, we should purchase the rights to this film. You would immediately just put the money down for it and go about your day. What I really want to know is, did any other streaming site want to purchase it beforehand? Like, I really don't know. There's so much fucking in the air. And at the end of the day, it is just a single film out of a catalog of thousands, as well as thousands of TV shows. This is not Netflix's fault. No matter how much you can hold Netflix accountable for it, they are not the ones at fault. At the end of the day, Netflix can make out like a bandit, because whether it actually is a film dedicated to the expulsion of child pornography and trying to bring light to the subject in people's heads, to be more on the watch for it, or all it did was end up bringing more child predators to Netflix to watch that film to get their rocks off. Who knows? Who really knows? It's a sad state of affairs that we live in, that you kind of just have to accept that this whole thing has happened. Oh, there we go. All the blades spin. They can pass right over top of the cabin. Is that? I know. Actually, I don't really know. Would cabin be correct? Anyone who flies helicopters, leave down in the comments, because I've only flown a plane. And now the true final piece of assembly is we bring back out the snakes from the very beginning, and I guess you're supposed to like put them in through here. Which I it says to just put them in through the top, but I don't know. Like, I've never actually done that. There is a compartment like where you can put them in from the underside, like where they can stay there. But yeah, so bringing back out the characters, let's put Feng Shui in his cabin. Because the angle that Feng Shui has to sit in there, he doesn't actually sit. It's like he lounges in the back the entire time. And then Kai with his jetpack to chase after, and then Lloyd, who is bound to the ground. Yeah, so that's Rattlecopter. It's literally a helicopter that was bitten by a fangpire that was then converted into a breathing snake. Literally in the show, these things breathe. And I hope you're looking forward to more that are exactly like this, fangpire vehicles. We've got some missiles, we've got the blades at the front, we've got the blades up top, and now I can show you this process. So if you squeeze these two buttons here, and there's actually arrows on the stickers to make sure that you do it. If you push it, it drops down the snakes as if they were like bombs and everything. So it's a cool little design. It's a little bit more like action friendly, I think. Like, this is definitely the generation where they thought, you know what, these kids want to play with their toys. And I'm not taking credit away from any of the sets that are like giant like play sets for like what has recently come about for like pirate ships, I think. Like, I heard that's a big revelation right as of right now. But yeah, that's everything. So I just want to say, have a nice day.